and supported by the UNICEF Sri Lanka, the International Conference on Child Protection 2025 is organized by the Center for Gender Studies of the University of Kelaniya in partnership with the National Child Protection Authority. The conference is funded through the European Union's Support to Justice Sector project, jointly implemented by UNICEF and UNDP with the Ministry of Justice. ICCP 25 brings together the national leadership, academia, international actors to drive evidence-based solutions to end violence against children. It's my utmost pleasure to announce the ceremonial launch of the conference proceedings now. Thank you. Now we are moving on to some special appreciations. University of Kelaniya is the proud host of the International Conference on Child Protection 2025. It's an honor to welcome a pivotal figure who has been the instrumental in making ICCP 25 a reality here at the University of Kelaniya. Her unwavering support and vision have truly paved the way for this successful event. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to the distinguished Vice Chancellor of University of Kelaniya, Professor Nilanthi De Silva, as we present her the token of appreciation. Madam, please welcome on stage. To present her the token of appreciation, I cordially invite Dr. Anusha Edirisinghe, former Director for Center of Gender Studies, University of Kelaniya, and Dr. Amila Jeevandara, Administrative Secretary of the conference. Thank you, everyone. Now we are moving for a special appreciation of a person who really deserves it. This conference was an initial idea by the National Child Protection Authority. UNICEF, under the Jure project, then came forward to fund the conference following open bids. Center for Gender Studies of University of Kelaniya got the honor of organizing this timely, valuable conference. This has led to a broader perspective of child protection, theme developments, providing new enthusiasm for research in this area. This included a pre-conference workshop, and it was important to find the correct resource persons as well. However, there's a person who was the live wire behind the project from its conceptual development to the inception today. He was the linkage between all these parties. As Professor Anuruddhi says from her own words, he is like a big brother to her when organizing this conference. He was the first lecturer of the Department of Forensics at University of Kelaniya. Then he joined UNICEF and continued his good service, but always keeping his roots in the University of Kelaniya. Professor Hemamal Jayawardena, please accept this token of appreciation and please welcome on stage. And to do the honors, may I cordially invite Professor Nilanthi De Silva, the Vice Chancellor of University of Kelaniya, and to accompany her, Professor Anuruddhi Edirisinghe, the Chair of the conference. As our conference chair, Senior Professor Anuruddhi Edirisinghe mentioned in her message, this Congress is a vital platform to share challenges and learn from one another. The symposium is a perfect embodiment of that goal, bringing the global perspectives of the forefront. To guide this important discussion, please join me in welcoming our distinguished moderators for the first symposium of this conference. Ms. Ayesha Jinesena, President's Council and the Secretary to the Minister of Justice, and Ms. Preeti Inoka Ranasinghe, the Chairman of the National Child Protection Authority. We'll now move on to the symposium, and we warmly welcome our two moderators on stage. Have the files. Yeah, madam. And the files.
Distinguished attendees, learned panelists, ladies and gentlemen. As you see, I'm wearing a badge that was given to me this week by a 9-year-old girl who came to see me. She came to hand over a petition. What was the petition about? She had done a project against bullying. Where was she bullied? When she was a kindergartner in Australia, she had been subjected to it. She is now a 9-year-old who had conducted this project in Sri Lanka. She didn't stop at that. The World Anti-Bullying Forum, that is a global event that brings together researchers, policymakers, and practitioners to address bullying, had invited her. Her name is Kelaniya Amakulatunga. I take the liberty in announcing her name for two reasons. One thing, I personally told her that I would tell about her at this international conference. Secondly, she has gone to Norway at their invitation to make this presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are children in our society, at home, in the world. When they are bullied, they would keep it to themselves and will take it to the grave. But Amma has fought, she has considered it to be apt to fight for herself and for her peers, for all the children in the world, especially the children in Sri Lanka. And she is requesting the Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Education, to bring in a law against bullying. As I told you in my opening remarks, the legislature is considering in bringing a law that to protect children, which is in the pipeline. Now, according to UNICEF, who has done a research on bullying in South Asian region, has the following to say. A large number of students in the region face bullying, including cyberbullying, a harmful type of peer violence. Over 50% of students aged 13 to 15 in Nepal reported being bullied, whilst 30% of students in Bhutan and Maldives and around 40% in Pakistan and Afghanistan reported the same. As it is stated, we are compelled to accept that the children are to be protected from various types of abuse that happens in the most safest place named home and in community. So these abuses have to be managed. The experience in managing child abuse differs from country to country. So it is opportune for us to listen to the few experts who have been invited to take part in this international forum this morning and who are willing to share their experience in the management of child abuse. So they will share with you in this August gathering the challenges and the successes each of them have experienced back in their countries. So I have the pleasure now in inviting the following experts to the stage. Dr. John A.M. Gall, followed by Professor Adash Kumar, and then Professor Anuruddhi Edirisinghe. Sorry, I missed the paper. And I wonder whether I am reading out and pronouncing your name correctly. Anirat, sorry, Warot, right. Can you please kindly come on stage? Then I will introduce you, along with the chairman of the NCPA. I thought it's better for you all to be on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, to bring in the insights of the success and any challenges that where United Kingdom and Australia have experienced I would like to first invite Dr. John A.M. Gall, who holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Queensland and with many a plethora of postgraduate qualifications, including MB, BS, and he's also a PhD holder in pathology from the University of Melbourne. Not only that, he is a fellow of Faculty of Forensic and Legal Medicine from Royal College of Physicians, London. He is also a fellow of Faculty of Clinical Forensic Medicine of the Royal College of Pathologists of Australia, and from Royal College of Pathologists, he is a medical examiner, and he's also he has a diploma in medical jurisprudence in clinical forensic medicine and in forensic pathology. Dr. Gall is a consultant forensic physician in both public and private practice. Prior to a recent relocation in the United Kingdom from Australia, he was a director and principal of IRA Health, a private multidisciplinary health centre in Melbourne. He's a senior consultant with the Victorian Paediatric Forensic Medical Service, Royal Children's Hospital and Monash Medical Centre, and an associate professor, Department of Paediatrics, the University of Melbourne. Currently, he is a medical examiner within 3 NHS trusts located at Petersburg City Hospital, Ealing Hospital in London, and the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford. John is a board member, trustee, and lead expert witness of the Faculty of Forensic and Legal Medicine. He is also a chair of a multi-specialty expert witness discussion group and is in the process of establishing a postgraduate course in forensic and legal medicine at King's College, London. Dr. Gall is the immediate past president of the International Association of Clinical Forensic Medicine. He qualified initially as a biochemist, completed his doctorate in the Department of Pathology at the University of Melbourne, and engaged in postdoctoral research in anatomy. He initially trained in anatomical pathology and then forensic pathology prior to specializing in clinical forensic medicine, where he has practiced for in excess of 25 years. He has published a number of books, book chapters, and research papers in forensic medicine and toxicology, and is currently co-editing and writing the 4th volume of Current Practice in Forensic Medicine, due for release in 2026, as I understand. In addition to forensic medicine, he also practices occupational medicine. He has hobbies that varied, and it includes tennis, scuba diving, and gliding. I cordially invite Dr. Gall to make your presentation.
Madam Secretary, distinguished professors and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's actually a great honour to be here to speak about child abuse and its management, because it's a subject that's been very close to my heart for a very long period of time. And I'm particularly pleased because I've had the opportunity over the last few days to actually see what you provide here. And I'd have to say I'm really quite delighted with what there is here. I think you've done exceedingly well. I think it's a great system that you have. It's a pity they don't have it in England, where the system there is far from what I'd consider adequate, as do many other colleagues. As my title suggests, I'm looking at some of the challenges, management challenges and successes, and it's really lessons from Australia rather than the UK, but I will briefly mention it. And I should point out that my view is essentially a personal view. I'm not here today to teach you about geography, but just an indicator of populations. Australia doesn't have all that many more people than Sri Lanka does. And of our almost 27 million, about almost 6 million are children under the age of 18 years. It's a massive country made up of a number of states and territories, and to add not only to the tyranny of the distance, each of the states functions as a separate country. They all have their own separate legislation, separate systems. Most of the population live on the east coast of Australia, which leaves a vast area that's fairly sparsely populated, and that creates major problems from the perspective of providing medical services, or any services for that matter. The other aspect that Australia has that perhaps you don't have here is that we have an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander population. And unfortunately, instances of child abuse and neglect tend to be much higher amongst that population. And that population is not necessarily in the highly populated centres on the east coast, but scattered throughout the country. Given that we have varied jurisdictional changes throughout the country, I'll just talk about child protection process generally. In Australia, it's effectively run by social services, so social workers, child protection workers. And I'll comment a little bit about that later. There are three parts to its process. There's detection, the assessment, and then the management of those cases that have been identified as in need of management. Unlike many countries, we have what's referred to as mandated reporting, which means if you're a particular member of a mandated group, and doctors are a mandated group, as are school teachers and various others, and you form the opinion that a child is probably being maltreated, you are required to report the case. And if you fail to do so, you can face criminal prosecution. So we have a way in which cases are brought to the attention of the relevant authorities, and the reporting is either to the local child protection service or police. Once it's been reported, they make an assessment as to whether it meets a threshold for their intervention. And then there is a full assessment, which basically is undertaken by social services, but it may be aided by the police. In certain circumstances where it's felt that there are injuries to be assessed, a referral will be made to a relevant medical group. And in most states now, there are paediatricians who have had some degree of forensic training who will undertake those studies. I've put here in brackets after police about Victoria. Police are very important, and we've heard yesterday about the approaches of police to dealing with children. And we had this same problem in Australia, where you had detectives who may otherwise have been dealing with hardened criminals, also assessing and interviewing children. That's all changed in Victoria. There's a special unit, a specially trained unit within Victoria Police that is throughout the state called SOCIT. It stands for Sexual Offences and Child Abuse Investigation Team. And they approach things far more differently, far more sensitively, and I think is one of the successes that's come out of Victoria. Following that, of course, there's management, and this is basically undertaken by social services. There may be criminal proceedings, depending upon the nature of the case. For a first world country, you might think that there shouldn't be terribly many child abuse cases, but there is really quite a significant number of cases reported. So for 2023 to 24, there was just over 300,000 cases reported. That's really quite a large number. Of those, 121,000 were subject to investigation, and that most of that investigation is undertaken by social services. And from that 121,000, 42,000 effectively were identified as having been maltreated. 42,000 in a single year, which is really quite incredible. Of those, just over 5,000 were physical abuse, just over almost 4,000 were sexual abuse, and almost 9,000 neglect. Neglect in a first world country. Incredible. And you can see in the graph there, it shows these figures with emotional abuse being the most significant. Interestingly, children under the age of 1 are the most at risk. There's no real difference between males and females. With any child protection service, there are a variety of challenges. To have a good service in place, you need a willing government. And not only that, it's quite understandable you need the appropriate finances. These services, as undoubtedly you're aware, are not entirely cheap. There needs to be an appropriate bureaucracy in place to ensure that the system works. And somehow between all of those groups and the various stakeholder interests, you will eventually end up with a child protection system. And it'll determine what the extent of that system will be. In Australia, we have a multidisciplinary approach. So you have the medical group, you have the police, and you have social services. And social services is really the lead agency in that they undertake, understandably, much of the investigation, much of the assessment, and ensure that plans, etc., are put in place, and those plans are ensured to remain in place. One of the things that I think is terribly important in any system, and I think fails to a great extent under this social worker-led system, is the concept of process versus outcome. I find, and this comes from someone who works both in private practice and public practice, I find in the public side of things, processes are vitally important. And sadly, there have been circumstances where everyone is terribly insistent on the processes being followed. The fact that the child dies at the end of that doesn't matter because we've followed the processes. And that is not what you want. And I think what needs to be associated with any child protection system is, yes, you need the processes to deal with it and to manage it appropriately, but you should not be judged on your adhesion to the processes, but the outcome for the child. Because if you have a ruined child at the end of it, you have failed. If the child is dead at the end of your investigations, you have failed. The brief mention I'll make of the UK. Both have a lot of similarities. One of the big differences is Australia has the mandatory reporting that I mentioned, whereas the UK relies upon voluntary professional referrals. They're thinking of changing that at the current point, although there's a lot of issues that people are raising, despite the fact that mandatory reporting is working perfectly well in other countries, and in particular in Australia, which has a very similar jurisdictional process. Both systems aim to balance early intervention with child safety, although each, of course, faces certain challenges. In Australia, there's the workload, but also equity issues. And really, I'd have to talk about some of the issues, or I won't discuss it, but some of the big issues is dealing really with a vast area and the Aboriginal population, which can sometimes be difficult to manage using a European approach. The UK has difficulties in information sharing, and that's been an issue where people, even though they're supposed to, and it's encouraged, it doesn't always happen. Consistency. It's interesting, as a medical examiner, I'm in 3 different trusts, and the approaches in each of those trusts, yet despite the fact that we're all dealing with the same law, is very different. And of course, regional variability that goes with it. I think in the UK, too few children are assessed by paediatricians because you need the social system to issue a Section 47 under the Children's Act for a medical practitioner to examine a child. And the other thing that concerns me is, of course, are the paediatricians who are doing these examinations. I don't think they are adequately trained, and I don't think they see adequate numbers of cases to maintain their competency. Now, if there's an English paediatrician here at the moment, you probably want to throttle me for making that comment, because they do often disagree with me when I make the comment. But I do have a following who would perhaps come and protect me from making that statement. There are failures, as you can appreciate, and of course, when you do have failures, they are often well publicised. And you can have, medical failures as well. This is a real case, one I showed the other day. I'm not going to go through the details of the case, but there was a very senior doctor in the UK that wrote the medico-legal report for this case. I represented defence. Some of you may not realise, but this doctor referred to, as he's put here, had significant lacerations on her face, which have been recorded on body mapping. Where are the lacerations? There's bruising and abrasions, but no lacerations. And if you can't get your terminology right at the beginning of your report and come to an appropriate opinion based on that assessment, then your report is worse than useless, because maybe this child was abused and in fact needed something to be done, but now may be lost to that system. So it isn't done in the best interests. I think the injuries, a child wears glasses, and I think the injuries resulted from certainly being hit whether by her sister or by her father, and the markings on her face are the result of the markings from the frame of the glasses. I'd like to turn to one of the states of Victoria, which is the one that I came from, and that's Victoria. And again, I'm not really wanting to give you a geography lesson, but it's a small state down the south of Australia, southern part of Australia, which, if you consider it by comparison with Sri Lanka, it's about 3 times the size of Sri Lanka, with about a third the population. So we have difficulties in providing services in all parts of Victoria, particularly when you consider that the majority of the population live in Melbourne. There are problems and successes, and I've said this is a personal view. Some of the problems, given that it's a social worker-led system, it relates to training and retention of child protection staff. Personally, I don't believe a 20 or 21-year-old who's just finished their social work degree at a university is the most suitable person to go and assess problems in a household. Anyone who's had children know of the problems of raising children. And I do think that the more appropriate social workers are those who have had a family, understand the difficulties of raising a family and all the other issues that one faces in raising children. It's not easy. I've got 2. There were times I wanted to grab them by the neck and throttle them, but fortunately I didn't. The other issue that I see is a tick-box process or process-driven approach, where I feel that often I've undertaken medical examinations of children, not for my input into this, but because child protection had a box. Have you taken this child for a medical? Tick, yes, I've done it. And then we can forget about it altogether. And they do. And this is some of the failings that I find, is that, particularly in children who reappear, is that the recommendations that I've made, that they need to see a paediatrician, that they need to have psychiatric care, or they've got an injury that needs to be dressed and processed, is ignored. And that worries me a great deal. Also, I think there are too few children assessed by paediatricians, psychiatrists, psychologists, and too many seen by social workers that I don't think have the breadth and knowledge to deal with these cases. But there are 2 successes. One is the police, which I mentioned before, and the other is a forensic medical system that has become part of mainstream medicine. And I think if you're going to have a sexual assault examination system or a physical neglect and emotional child abuse system, it needs to be part of mainstream medicine. And I'd like to spend the rest of the time, and I'm probably gone well over what I should do. Oops, I've gone backwards. Speaking about this unit. Oops. Oops, I'm going in the wrong direction. Oh, definitely going in the wrong direction. Right, there we go. I'd like to talk about the Victorian Forensic Paediatric Medical Service. It's now a centre of excellence in Australia. It's the only one in Australia, located in Melbourne. We're rather fortunate in Australia. We have 2, or in Melbourne, we have 2 very nice new hospitals for children. Not always like this. When I first started in this unit in 2007. Anyway, the unit itself, co-located at the Royal Children's Hospital and Monash Children's Hospital, and it works on a hub and spoke model, where the spokes are the regional hospitals. But the two principal areas of assessment are within those hospitals. So it's a specialist forensic paediatric service dealing with children up to the age of 18 and operates as a tertiary referral centre. It treats physical, sexual abuse, neglect and psychological abuse, and we provide medical legal opinions. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service, not for all cases after hours, but certainly acute sexual assault cases are seen after hours. It's a hospital-only service. We don't go out from the hospital. And we have 20 outpatient sessions a week. So GPs, Child Protection, Victoria Police can refer to those outpatient sessions. Oh, dear me. I'm not doing well today. Just go back one. Oops. There we go. In the rural and regional areas, local paediatricians do the work. Forward. Oops, gone the wrong direction again. Very quickly, they work with hospital specialists, police. We've got a leadership role, do a lot in relation to teaching and research. It's funded by health, which is terribly important, not by police. And there's a requirement that everyone working in the unit has undertaken some form of formal forensic medical training. Now, whether that be the Master of Forensic Medicine at Monash University or have completed their fellowship at the Faculty of Clinical Forensic Medicine. They hold peer review meetings just as any of the other specialties do. Reports are all peer reviewed as well before they're sent out. Something that upset a lot of the consultants early on, but it's resulted in markedly improved quality of medico-legal reports. I won't go through all the details, but there's a director, deputy director, there's 7 part-time staff specialists, some paediatric trainees, there are 2 nurses who act as triage to make sure that we're not being inundated with things that we don't really need to deal with, and some administration. Our numbers might seem relatively small, but they're shown here. But we do provide an enormous amount of advice, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on the phone for doctors, including in some of the neighbouring states. It has a major role in education, and because I've gone well over time, I think, I won't go through all of those details. There are certain things that are very much in its favour, in particular that it's within mainstream medical services. It ensures an appropriately trained and knowledgeable workforce, something that the UK certainly doesn't have. There's an assurance of quality and consistent quality through peer review. And importantly, it enables the treating paediatrician to get on and treat their patients while we deal with the forensic aspects of it. And I think that is a very important issue. Points against, of course, cost, staff burnout, because there's only a limited number of staff. And I think it's an unfortunate thing that it's not a doctor-led system, the whole protection system. I think there are a lot of children that probably don't get to see a paediatrician or a doctor who should see one. And I think children who have been subjected to maltreatment, need to see a doctor so that appropriate care can be put in place to reduce the likelihood of there being a problem later in life. I have the view that if you deal with the problem now, the chances of the problem continuing through life and being a major burden on society is likely to be much less. This is a sort of model, even though it's for children, it's appropriate to all age clinical forensic medical services. And I think on that point, I'll bring my presentation to an end. I'd just like to acknowledge that the person who set this unit up, battling some of the bureaucratic obstacles, was Dr. Anne Smith. She remains as director, and I think it is an excellent service. And should you be interested in finding out more about the service, it's available at that website. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gaul, for your insightful presentation. And let me tell you, the story related by Secretary Justice is one of its kind that we every day hear at the National Child Protection Authority. Now my task is to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Anirudh Varawat, who is a distinguished forensic physician at the Praproklam Hospital, Thailand. He holds key leadership roles as the hospital's Deputy Director for Strategy and Planning and Chairman of the multidisciplinary team for assistance to victims of violence and human trafficking. This latter role directly involves overseeing comprehensive support for victims, a central theme of his presentation on child abuse management. Dr. Varawat earned his MD from Chulalongkorn University and is board certified in forensic medicine by the Thai Medical Council, having completed his specialization at Sri Raj Hospital, Mahidol University. He further enhanced his expertise with an MSc in Health Professions Education from Sri Raj Hospital, Mahidol University. His career is marked by significant contributions to victim support systems and forensic medicine development in Thailand. Notably, Dr. Varawat was the chairman of the One-Stop Crisis Center at Prabhaklam Hospital. This position provided him with extensive first-hand experience of the operational framework, successes, and challenges in assisting victims of violence, particularly children, which is highly relevant to his presentation. At a national level, he has served on a Ministry of Public Health Steering Committee for Forensic Medicine Development and its working group, influencing standards and practices pertinent to legal frameworks and procedural changes in abuse cases. Internationally, Dr. Varawat contributed to the United Nations Population Fund Working Group on Health Sector Response to Gender-Based Violence. Formerly a lecturer in the Department of Forensic Medicine at Sri Raj Hospital, Mahidol University, Dr. Varawat combines practical forensics expertise with academic insight and strategic leadership, making him exceptionally well suited to share lessons from Thailand on child abuse management. Now I cordially invite Dr. Varawat to stand.
Thank you, Preeti, for nice introduction. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, distinguished guests. My name is Dr. Anirudh from One-Stop Crisis Center of Prabhaklam Hospital in Thailand. Okay. Today we will discuss with the challenge and the success from the Thailand about the child abuse management. It's a real honor to be here today to to share the story of Thailand, a story of both success and a very real challenges. The story I'm about to tell has two very different sides. On one hand, it's a story of innovation and a system we are incredibly proud of. But on the other hand, it's about the deep-rooted problem that still exists in our society in Thailand. My goal today is to give you an honest look at this complex reality. To really understand the scale of our challenge in Thailand, I want to start with just one number, 49. Every single day in Thailand, this is the average number of children and women who seek help and walking into our hospital from violence. This isn't a weekly or monthly figure, it's a daily crisis. This number also represent the daily workload for our staff in the one-stop crisis center too. The SEC in Thailand is the front line of our response system. And when we zoom out to see the big map of the Thailand, this graph shows the volume of cases coming into our OSCC over the years. As you can see, the number are consistently high, peaking in 2017 at over 21,000 cases. What's interesting is the sharp drop in 2023. We don't know what happened in 2023 exactly. However, if we look trend since 2018, it's increasing. But we don't believe it's truly increasing. We see it as a post-COVID rebound. During the pandemic, lockdown maybe suppressed reporting, while at the same time, increased stressor like economic hardship and confinement likely led to more violence. So this surge could be a combination of delay reporting and new cases. It's also important to note you that 97% of these service users are Thai national, which raises important question about accessibility of the migrant and other vulnerable population. So in these tens of thousands of cases that you see, who is being hurt, who is most at risk? This chart gives us a clear and worrying answer. The most vulnerable group is adolescent girl aged 10 to 18. Sorry about the wrong number in the slide presentation, 10 to 18. And for them, sexual violence is by far the most common form of abuse, with over 2,500 cases last year alone. For younger children under the age of 10, the risks are more spread out across physical abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect. This tells us that our prevention strategy must be different from different age groups. What works for a 7-year-old group will not work for a 17-year-old group. The next question is, who is causing this harm? This might be the most surprising truth for many. The threat is not coming from strangers on the street. As this chart shows, almost all perpetrators are intimate partners or family members. This completely reframes the problem. It's not an external threat. It's a crisis happening behind closed doors. And when we look deeper, we see different patterns. For physical abuse, you see the blue that we have the family relative, other known person. For physical abuse, the perpetrator are very often the child or parents. But for sexual abuse, the dynamic change with age. For younger children, the abuser is typically a family member or someone very close to their family. As they become adolescents, the threats shift to the intimate partner, like boyfriend or someone, the romantic partner they met by the social media. This also makes it incredibly difficult for victims to speak out due to the betrayal of trust and the complex family dynamic involved. And what fueled this violence? The data point into two main drivers: alcohol abuse and family conflict. We call this a syndemic. It's not just one problem, but a cluster of problems feeding each other. Alcoholism, drug addiction, and family breakdown are all connected. This means we can't just treat the physical injury. We have to address the underlying issue of addiction and family dysfunction to break the cycle. So, facing this complex crisis in Thailand, how has Thailand built its architecture of protection to fight back? It all starts with strong legal foundation. We have three main pillars that work together. First, the Child Protection Act, which defines the state duty to protect every child. Second, the amended Penal Code, which criminalizes all forms of sexual offense, including marital rape. And third, the Domestic Violence Act, which gives us specific tools like restraint order for violence within the family. And our laws are not static. They continue to evolve. In fact, we just had a landmark victory like Sri Lanka for children's rights this year too. In March, Thailand officially banned all forms of corporal punishment. The law was changed from ambiguous language that allowed parents to punish appropriately to a clear prohibition of any act that causes physical or psychological harm. This is a huge cultural and a legal shift, making Thailand the 68th country worldwide to take this important step and aligning our laws with the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. But the true heart of our response system in healthcare system is the One-Stop Crisis Center, or OSCC. This is our national success story. The great thing about this model is its simplicity. We place a comprehensive crisis center inside every single public hospital nationwide. We leverage an infrastructure that people already trust, making it a safe and accessible place for victims to seek help, far different from the intimidating environment of the police station. The process is designed in the OSCC to be as seamless as possible for the victim. When someone arrives at the hospital, at the public hospital in Thailand, and a bill is suspected, they are referred to a dedicated OSCC officer. This officer becomes the single point of contact, coordinating everything under one roof: immediate medical care, careful forensic evidence collection, psychological support from therapists, from psychologists, and social work to plan for their safety, all before any legal coordination begins. And then the engine that drives OSCC and drive this entire model is our multidisciplinary team, or MDT. That's an internal team of doctors, nurses, psychologists, and medical social workers to work together for immediate care and planning, and followed by an external team conference with police, prosecutor, and social worker from the shelter, from the NGO, to plan for long-term safety and justice. Because the OSCC is based in health system, it acts as a neutral coordinator, which is crucial for building trust and getting all these different agencies to work together effectively. Up to this point, you have seen we have a great care system, as this should be a complete success story. But it's not. And this slide show why. This is a tale of two systems. On one side of the bridge, we have the care system, but it works very well. On the other side, you see the justice system, which faces severe bottleneck. And as you can see, the bridge is now, the bridge connecting is now broken. Why is broken? When we see the data from the victim, have the most critical challenge is I call it the justice gap. The data is shocking. A very low 6% of sexual abuse cases reported to our OSCC ever result in arrest warrant. This funnel diagram clearly illustrates that the massive drop-off between care and justice. And as the note here says, this is only the tip of the iceberg. For online exploitation, an estimated 400,000 children victims exist, but only 1 to 3% ever report it to the police. The true justice gap is immense. So, why this huge gap exists? Our analysis points to several key hurdles. First, the issue of reporting. Thailand Child Protection Act actually creates a legal duty like Sri Lanka, like other countries, like Australia, like UK, for everyone, especially professionals like doctors and nurses and teachers, to report suspected abuse. But, however, and I think this is a critical flaw of this law. The law provides no penalty for those who fail to report. That means this creates what we call a soft mandate. If you don't report the case to the organization, to the child protection units, nothing to do for you. It's just the law to ask you to report to someone who is responsibility to the case. I think it's a law without teach. That's rely on goodwill more than enforcement. Second, and as we saw for the graph before, we saw most perpetrators are family members. This creates immense pressure on the child and other family members to not proceed with a case, to keep it in a family. And third, the legal standard for a criminal conviction in Thailand is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. This is a very high bar, and it's become a major obstacle when the primary evidence in some cases is the testimony of a traumatized child. Yes, beyond this gap, we have many challenges. There are entire groups of invisible children our system struggle to reach. This includes migrants and stateless children who face legal barrier to protection, often lacking the documentation needed for birth registration, for school enrollment. It includes children living in the poverty or with disability who lack access to specialized services. And it includes the huge silent number of children suffering from online exploitation, a hidden epidemic of our time. So with this significant change, where do we go from here? What is the way forward for Thailand? Our strategy is twofold: innovating in prevention and strengthening our legal foundation. Let's start with the prevention. One of our most exciting innovations this year is the adoption of the Cardiff model. This model was created by the brilliant Professor Jonathan Shepherd, and I'm very proud to say he was in Thailand just last year to receive the very important Prince Mahidol Award for his work. The original concept used hospital data to help police identify violent hotspots. But in Thailand, where most violence happens in the home, we are adapting it. Instead of sharing data with police, we plan to share anonymized data with our social welfare system, with Child Protection Officer and the Ministry of Social Development. Imagine this, if our data show a cluster of domestic violence cases in a specific neighborhood, instead of just waiting for the next emergency call, Child Protection team can proactively engage the community. They can offer family counseling, parenting supporting program or connect families struggle with substance abuse to social service before the violence escalates. It's a smart way to use data from the care system to drive prevention, with a different but equally important goal to fixing the justice system. And besides new tools for prevention, we also strengthening the foundation itself by modernizing a 20-year-old law to meet today's challenges. A new Child Protection Act in Thailand is underway. Key reform includes empowering local government with planning and budgeting duty, creating new provincial assembly for policy input, and establishing a dedicated child protection fund to ensure sustainable funding for this vital effort. So, to wrap things up, what are the key lessons from Thailand's story? Our great success is the hospital-based OSCC model, but our greatest challenge is the systemic disconnect with the justice system. This leaves us with three key lessons. First, the huge power of using the public health sector. Second, the absolute need for proactive legal reform. And third, the understanding that data is the bridge that can turn reaction to prevention. So finally, the key message I want to leave you all with is this: building a perfect response system is only half the battle. The true measure of our success isn't just in the system we build, but in the connection we make. It's about ensuring that the care we provide leads to justice for every victim. And it's about ensuring that the data we collect leads to prevention for every child. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Arwat, for your insightful presentation. And you made us feel that we are not alone in the issue. Yes, proving a case beyond reasonable doubt is common to all of us. Taking a person to court might be a little too late. By that time, the damage is already done. The best thing is to protect the children so that there won't be any repetition. Our next speaker comes from our neighborhood. Professor Adarsh Kumar is the honorary president of the India Academy of Medico-Legal Experts. He is the Secretary General of INPALMS. Professor Adarsh, a gold medalist, is currently Professor Forensic Medicine and Toxicology at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. He is the first person in world to receive Commonwealth Fellowship at UK twice in years 2011 and 2015. He is also a Fellow of Royal Society of Medicine, London, IAMLE 2014. International Science Congress Association 2015. Indian Society of Toxicology 2016, and Indian Academy of Forensic Medicine 2020. He is honorary medico-legal expert to National Human Rights Commission and Central Bureau of Investigation, topmost agency of criminal investigation in India since more than a decade, where he has handled around 1,000 complicated and high-profile cases. Dr. Adarsh is visiting faculty to Anglia Ruskin University, Cambridge, UK, National Pergoa University in Ukraine. He has about 30 years of teaching experience and medical legal fieldwork. He has guided 20 PhD postgraduate students and conducted around 5,000 autopsies. He has delivered 5 orations and more than 100 lectures in various scientific conferences all over the world and has published about 100 papers, organized 15 national and international conferences, written 10 chapters in various textbooks, acted as editorial board member and peer reviewer in 20 journals of specialty from India and abroad. Dr. Kumar has developed massive open online courses, videos in 3 subjects: forensic medicine, forensic anthropology, and forensic serology and biology for Ministry of Human Resource Development. Government of India under Digital India Mission in 2016 for SWAYAM portal, which are now freely made available on YouTube. Representing India at highest level at governing council member of 3 international scientific organizations, that is International Academy of Legal Medicine, INPALMS and APMLA. Currently, Honorary President of Indian Academy of Medical Legal Experts. He was honored with commendation certificate for his exemplary work in field of forensic investigations and human rights by National Human Rights Commission in 2014. He was awarded with Education Award for Excellency by Indo-US Global Foundation in 2016, International Cooperation Medal by Government of Ukraine in 2020, Forensic Excellence Award in 2020, and first recipient of Pandit Jajish Sharan Mishra Oration Award by Indian Association of Biomedical Sciences in 2024. He has been a guest of honor at Galgotia University, Greater Nagoda and Institute of Technological and Mechanical Engineering, University in 2025. With your wealth of experience, we cordially invite you to present your challenges and successes in India. Thank you.
For the elaborate introduction. Distinguished speakers on the dais, delegates, and dear faculty, and my dear students, a very good morning from India. Ao Buan, I tried to pronounce that. So, greetings from India. It's a pleasure to have it here with our Indian delegation present in this conference. And of course, my sincere thanks to the organizing committee for having me here and sharing my views and experiences of this very, very complicated domain. So thanks again for the whole organizing team for giving me this opportunity to be here among the galaxy of speakers from all over the world. A special thanks to my dear friend, Professor Anuruddhi Adrasinghe, and the whole organizing team of the Center for Gender Studies, University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka. And I'll acknowledge the departed souls whose photographs I have taken during my presentation. Disclaimer is also there because some of the pictures might be gory, so viewers' discretion is requested. Few of the cases, of course, I have dealt personally, so I have tried to conceal the identity, but to show some of the findings because it's a forensic settings and all, we are discussing about that. That might be revealed, but just for the academic purposes. And maybe I'll be putting more questions to all of you rather than answering. So maybe more challenges rather than successes, in other words. So this will be my overview of presentation. I will be covering these aspects during this 20-25 minutes of talk. Country where I come from, now it has got the dubious distinction of having the largest population in the world. We are having a population of more than 1.46 billion. Out of these, if we talk about the children, that means the below 18 years of age, there are 1/3 of the total population. So in terms of number, it becomes 480 million children in my country. So now you can imagine how much problem we are going to face when we discuss about all these issues. If we talk about the population below 14 years of age, this also amounts to 144 crores. That means 1.44 crores, 14.4 millions as per the. Well, when this kind of news are presented or are depicted in the newspaper almost every day, somewhere it affects our psyche as well, that look what is happening in whole part of the country. 5-fold hike in the rape cases against the children from 1994 to 2016. That was also as per a data. As per the National Crime Records Bureau statistics 2022, when we have specifically tried to monitor the POCSO cases, that is to deal with the prevention of sexual offenses against the children, we have made it in 2012. I'll come to that later. From 2012, our reporting pattern has become a little bit different, and now you see the number of cases which have been increasing. It looks like they have been increasing. Probably it is because of the, you can say, previously it could be the underreporting, and now as the awareness is there, the people are coming forward to lodge those cases. So it looks like that the number of cases are increasing from 2014 and onwards. Continuously there is an increasing trend of the POCSO cases. And government is definitely, there is a growing alarm over rise in the child sex abuse cases, and the NHRC, National Human Rights Commission, 2 years ago in March 2023, took cognizance of all these issues, because they are the advisory body and they advise the guide when the government how to modify the practices and change in the system. Their role also comes into picture. So India is ratified this UN Convention on the Rights of the Child on 12th November 1992. So we have to follow all those. The rights to be protected from all forms of physical as well as mental violence. There was so many discussions and so many, you can say, the complications that to define who is a child, because in different settings, the definition of the children was different. Suppose the pediatrician who was sitting in the hospital setup earlier, so he used to take care of the children up to 12 years of age. Beyond 12 years, they used to be catered into the normal adult OPDs, right? So in terms of that context, the age of the child was 12 years. Then it was increased to 14 years, and there was variation in the different hospitals and the different states. As you know, India is a big country. In fact, it's a continent. If you just compare with the various states, it becomes a continent. So when we talk about the Juvenile Justice Act, earlier, the age of the child was 16 years. Then we had changed the Juvenile Justice Act in 2005, and we made it as an 18 years. When we talk about the punishment for the juvenile delinquents, again, the age of the child was earlier 16 and it was raised to 18. So depending upon the context, there was no uniformity when we're talking about that who is a child. Before this act came, now after the introduction, now it has of course become uniform as 18 years. So this child abuse includes all forms of the violence, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional ill treatment, neglect, and the commercial or this exploitation. And actually, we all know that, so I'll be just skipping about that. Coming on to the diagnosis of child abuse, when we see that early diagnosis is the most important, so that the childhood as well as adulthood do not suffer. Evaluation of a child, what we are doing is, or we are advocating it, and of course, as I told you, that whatever is prevalent in, say, bigger hospital like us may not be there in the local hospital, the district hospital. But we are trying to disseminate this information that it should be like that. So there should be a multidisciplinary team which must include a pediatrician, child psychiatrist, forensic medicine expert. Usually they are not part of the, you can say directly the part of that team. Still, we are growing. And of course, the medical social service officers or the workers. And of course, we have tried to develop this concept of one-stop crisis center. It used to call earlier. Actually, the 2012 was a very significant year in our, you can say, history of India, because at that, we also changed our rape law, and it was amended after that Nirbhaya case. So simultaneously, we had the POCSO Act also in 2012. And in that context, specifically, we advocated the development of one-stop crisis center. Then we changed to one-stop help center, and now we only called it one-stop center, where not only the victims of the sexual assault, they can be taken care of, but along with all those child abuse cases also can be taken care of that. So we are still developing, not present everywhere, but in tertiary care hospitals and the bigger cities and the public hospitals, we are having that system. And this team could be expanded to include the obstetrician and gynecologist also, because we have seen so many cases of, you can say, involving the female children and all. If that comes into picture, then their role is there. Pediatric surgeon is also, must be the member of that team. Orthopedician also to take care of, neurosurgeon, and we are also trying to advocate having these trained nurses also to take care of for the abused children, and we are trying to develop the concept of forensic nursing, the trained forensic nurses in due course of time. We are just developing that system because we found that, yes, they are very helpful when we talk about this teamwork and at one-stop center. One most important member which oftenly is neglected or missed is the dermatologist, skin and venereal disease specialist, because skin is the largest and frequently the most traumatized organ. About 90% of the victims of physical abuse, they show skin lesions on the examination, and the diagnostic confirmation and exclusion of certain dermatological diseases must precede reporting to the judicial authorities. Sometimes the pediatrician or the persons who are not well trained to identify those skin lesions might report it in a different manner. So therefore, the presence of that dermatologist in that team is essential so that he will rule out that there is no disease pertaining to the skin is there and actually the child has been abused only. This pediatric emergency unit where we are having, so we are trying to spread the awareness about all these to the pediatric emergency personnel, because most of the times these cases will be reported to the child emergency or the pediatric emergency. So if they don't have that, if there is a lack of education of health professionals, then many cases might be missed or maybe underdiagnosed, leading to further abuse and sometimes severe and maybe fatal also many of the times. The false reports, the inadequate knowledge, as well as varying cultural and traditional patterns may mask many of the abuse cases, as we have seen during our practice. So when we talk about the examination of that child, again, there is a little bit difference when we talk about taking the consent for examining a child, whether it is 18 years or 12 years. So below 12 years, the role of the consent is different. Above 12, between 18, it's different. In what situation, what type of consent is required, that also becomes a little bit challenging sometimes to understand. All the consultation with the child should be in the handwritten notes with diagrams, body charts, and photographic documentations. The examination of the clothes, that is also very important. We'll talk about the sexual abuse cases especially. the presence of the seminal stains, the struggling marks, the tears, trace material, etc., that should be done. So that we are trying to advocate even the basic doctors who are working in the periphery, that at least you must do these kind of things. So complete examination and all, that is essential. The reporting should be in a proper manner, written clearly, and again there is a lot of variation in the reporting pattern. Also, we are trying to address that to have a uniform guidelines all over the India. So by and large the system is same, but then again there are so much variation in the practices of different states and different hospitals also. So we are trying to have that uniformity in the reporting pattern also, whether it's a postmortem report or it is the medico-legal report and all. A little bit about the POCSO Act, what is called in short. It was in the protection of children from the sexual offenses. This was notified on 14th November. In India, we celebrate this 14th November as a Children Day in the memory of our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So on that day, it was notified and amended afterwards in 2021 recently. Here, it has been clearly mentioned that any person above 18 years, when we talk about the POCSO cases, it will be treated as a child. And this act is specifically a gender-neutral offense, gender-neutral act. When we talk about the Rape Act, it is the gender-specific act. That means the rape can be committed only against the female, not against the male. But when you talk about the child and POCSO cases, this act is a gender neutral and it applies to the male victims also. And there is a mandatory reporting of abuse. As my dear friend from Thailand, he shared that there is no mandatory reporting, probably what I could get. But under the POCSO Act, there is mandatory reporting, and every person who suspects or has knowledge of a sexual offense, or even comes to his knowledge that certain child is being abused, he has to report mandatorily to the local police or to the special juvenile police units, which are being, you can say, gradually formed all over the country. So this is mandatory, including the doctor. And here, one more provision is there. The non-reporting is punishable up to 1 year of this imprisonment under Section 19 and 21 of the POCSO Act. So it is mandatory for the doctor also to report if he comes into the knowledge that the child is being abused, sexually abused. Of course, he has to maintain the full confidentiality, and all these trial proceedings also, we have just changed the whole system. Earlier, before the enactment of this act, it was used to be the general trial and all those kind of questions and in the public eyes and all that used to be happening. Now, it is a totally closed door system where we have got the dedicated POCSO court. There we deal it, the total, you can say, cases. And there what we call as the in-camera trial. So there is only the child is there, the judge is there, and there is a separation and all what we called as in-camera trial. The victim and the perpetrator, they don't face each other, right? There is a barricading between the child and the perpetrator. They don't face each other, and because the identity must not be disclosed and at any point of time. And judge also not directly sits on the bench. It's not face to face, so that the child feels little bit threatened. So that kind of, you can say, the changes or awareness that is being, you can say, practiced. And it is said that all these cases, they should be dealt in a fast-track court. We try to address these and try to, you can say, up to the trial must be finished within 2 months of time. Earlier it used to be not only the years, it used to be the decades. Still, the cases go on for decades. But in these particular cases, after this, we have tried that under this act, that must be finished within 2 months. So at least, may not be 2 months, but at least 6 months or within 1 year, at least those cases will be sorted out. When we talk about this, dealing with this, we have got this special vulnerable witness courtroom. They are dedicated and specified unit. So under that whole big court complex, one place will be identified as a, you can say, vulnerable witness courtroom, and there only all the cases will be dealt. So their separate entry will also be separate. They will be brought from the separate entry and exit and all those. So there again, when we talk about that, the whole system of examining starts with the lady PI. So male police inspector cannot deal these type of cases. So lady police inspector has to be there. Lady police constable will accompany that child to the hospital. Medical board will comprise of the gynecologist, that again will be a lady doctor, pediatrician, and forensic medicine expert. Of course, that depends upon. But the gynecologist must be a lady. It cannot be a male gynecologist when we are talking about dealing with the sexual assault or examining these type of cases. Role of forensic medicine expert. Now I'm sharing few of the cases which we have dealt as a forensic pathologist and as a clinical forensic medicine expert. So that poses a lot of challenge or dilemma. Maybe you can answer. So one 11-year boy, he was brought with the alleged history of death due to fall from a bike 3 days back, suffered head injury, and he was brought dead at my hospital. So the police concern was only the cause of death. That happens usually in all cases of road traffic accident. But when I examined the case, examined the dead body, I found along with the head injury so many telltale marks of the child abuse. Now you can yourself visualize that how brutally the child was abused over a period of time, because there were duration was different, the pattern of the injuries was different all over his body. Even there were stamping marks of the press, that cloth iron, what I could correlate, that was pressed over his buttocks and all. And he was an 11-year sick old boy. Now you see, it is clearly visible. All those, all over the body, you can say the injuries were there. So typical signs of child abuse, massive abuse, torture, everything was quite evident, right? All over the necks and all. So now, just photographic documentation, you can see the cauliflower shape of the ear. So child has been slapped over a period of time, multiple times, like that. All those, even there was these imprint abrasions over his hands. He was a sick boy. He was wearing a metallic bangle. So sometimes it was pressed like that. Like that. Now, when we inquired, that actual parents separated few years ago, and this child was living with the present parent, who was the actual father and stepmother, from 2 months only. This was a second marriage for both of them 2 years ago. So there was one kid from the previous marriage for both, and this boy from the father, and this 12 years girl from the mother. So when we go into the details of that family setting, then we understand that why it is happening. And then the one male child was born 1 year back. The custody battle suit was filed about 6 years back, but settled 2 months before. And there was alleged history of fall from bike. So when he fell from the bike, he was shown to the local doctor only. There was practically no treatment was given. And he was ultimately brought dead to the trauma center. The cause of death for us as a forensic pathologist was simple, because he suffered the head injury, died due to subdural hemorrhage. But then what we should do further? Whether we should specifically stick to our domain of conducting the autopsy and just giving cause of death, and that's all, or of course we have to document it, but whether we have to comment upon all those things, it becomes difficult. Because when the police wants to lodge against the case, then they are home to lodge against the case. It's a case of road traffic accident. The poor guy has died due to road traffic accident. The case will be lodged against that person who has killed, who was on the motorbike or so. What about the parents who have been, you can say, continuously abusing him? Even if you do that, the police, I tried to advocate the police, tried to counsel them, but what will you do? They will just fleece the money from the parents only, because they are not going to do anything with the parents. For them, the case pertains only as a road traffic accident, cause of death, that's all. So although I have written, but then there was no further proceeding on that line, whether the abuse, what they have perpetrated, so that at least the other children may not suffer, because they were having the other children. So how will you rule out that other children will not were not having or were not being abused in their homes. No remedy, no way we can do that, and how the court will view that. So it was a challenge. Another case, a 3-year-old male child was brought from the cremation ground. There, the person, the local person, what we called as Dom or Panda, he made a telephonic call to the police because he suspected some injuries were there on the body of the child. So child was just they died, and he was sent there for the cremation. But the person who actually saw that, and he suspected, and he made a call to the police. And there was a history that probably the child has died due to fall from stairs in their own house previous night, and again no treatment was provided. And this case is a little bit more different dimensions. The father and mother were not known. This was an orphan child, and this was handed over to the current parent just 6 months before. The earlier custodian kept this child for 6 months. So now you see, every 6 months, the custodian of the child is being changed, right? So before that also, the previous custodian kept for about 6 months, and details not known. And the present custodian, he said that he used to keep this child during the daytime only. The night time it used to be in the child shelter home. This was the typical injury pattern when I saw the body. I found like this. So you can again see all those different kind of the pattern, different durations, different injury. Child is literally starved. You can see is malnourished, starved child. All these kind of telltale signs of the child abuse, the abuse happening over a period of time was there. All those findings were there. So again, no answer. Cause of death is something else we can give, but we have documented. We have documented all those findings, but nobody is bothered about touching upon or further investigating that why it has happened. So these two cases are autopsy cases. Coming on to the dilemma as a clinical forensic medicine case, a 6 to 7-year-old male child was brought from the satellite town of Delhi, that called as Faridabad. And father was alive. The mother died few years back, and this father died the younger sister of that the lady who had died. So in fact, it was sister-in-law 2 years back. And father was working in Delhi, and usually used to go on the weekends. It is around 40-50 kilometers from Delhi. So usually on the weekend, the father used to go there, and this child was living with his maternal aunt for all the time. And she was not having her own child. And again, the same story like that, alleged history of fall, sustaining fractures, and then is a fracture in the upper limbs were fractured. He was admitted in the pediatric ward, and referral was sent to me. I'm talking about 2010, when the POXO Act was not there. Of course, the child abuse was dealt in a little bit different manner. Forget about the sexual abuse. The referral was sent to me because there were multiple scratches over his face and unexplained injuries. Child was having a very poor hygiene, multiple scratches all around the mouth, inside the lips, and then multiple old healed fractures in the extremities. So there again a definite case of physical abuse. Now how to proceed further? Right, only child, perpetrated living with child, difficult to interact with child because every time the maternal aunt was with him. So, and this was actually came as a non-medical legal case. That means only for the fracture what he was happening, right? So it was a non-medical cause. So how to change it to medical legal case? Whether to inform the police when you have come to the knowledge that, okay, they are suspecting a child abuse like that. And then there is interstate coordination. The hospital is in Delhi and this state is different, Faridabad. Even after that, if you do that, the case will be lodged against whom? Who will take care of the child? We were not having that robust system of the child welfare at that point of time. Again, I'm coming after this. This was the before POXO, the last case. After this POXO, this is again a clinical case. A 7-year-old boy presented with the history of itching and redness over the glands of 3 months duration. Then on the physical examination, mild erythema of the glands was there and the herpes labialis was there. And this case came to the skin OPD. And he prescribed, when he saw that, he prescribed the antiviral drugs and then advised for the follow-up examination. Herpes labialis resolved, but the genital symptoms persisted. So then he got suspected. He inquired for if any sexual abuse is there, and it was denied by the child as well as his father, because his father was accompanying that. So again, the dermatologist advised him to continue the same treatment and advised for certain other investigation, suspecting that the child might have the sexual abuse. So during all these visits, further follow-up was going on every week, every 2 weeks. The child was coming to the OPD, and it was accompanied by his father only. After 8 months, the child returned with the same complaint and was this time accompanied by his aunt. The father was not there. So again, he was inquired for the sexual abuse, and then the child confided of being abused by his own father. At that time, he confided. So, and he said that he was being fondled and having penile-oral contact, but denied of any penile-anal contact. So on physical examination, no anogenital abnormalities were seen, and then comes this question of mandatory reporting. Because of that, the again call was sent to me, because they were not aware how to sort it out in the OPD setting when the child is being followed it up. Because it was said that it has to be a mandatory reporting. So then we had a case conference. I think that system was probably shared by some speaker, but now we are having that all these cases, from the beginning we have a case conference rather than at late stage. So his case conference was conducted after 2 weeks, and then it was attended by the child, his parents, and the elder sister, about 11, because we asked that whosoever the family members are there, all of them should be there. So now all of them denied of any knowledge about the child's sexual abuse. The child too denied, he also denied the abuse by his father, which he alleged in the last visit. In the last visit, what he said, but now in the presence of family members and all, he straightforward refused, no, nothing is being done. And when we requested the father to be screened for the sexually transmitted infections, because we were having the positive for the gonorrhea and all, he refused. We tried to counsel the family regarding the child's condition and rehabilitation. Again, then it was a challenge for us, because the mother of the child was furious at us. Look, we have come here for the treatment. There's nothing like police case and all. We don't want. So ultimately, what we came to know, that this child was working in the night time as a security guard, and the mother was working as a housemaid. So in the daytime, the mother was working, and in the night time, since the father was working, so in the daytime, the father and the child was in the home. So he said, no, it's our livelihood, and when he go to jail, what will we do? No, we don't want any kind of reporting, and that's all. We have come here only for the treatment. Doctor, you just confide to the treatment, nothing more than that. It's a big challenge for us to sort out and all that. So now the need of our is to develop this concept of teamwork, and we have taken the initiatives basically at the metro cities initially, the bigger cities where this problem is much, and we have got the more population. Gradually, as I told you, that one-stop help center, now not crisis, we don't call it crisis, and not even the help, now it is one-stop center. We dedicated child line having number 1098. So it's a 24/7 working all over the country. It's not any jurisdiction based. It works all over the country. So this child line is there, and there the team of all these persons who are involved in this process, they cater to that. So, and we are also trying to place a full-fledged clinical forensic medicine unit at every emergency, just to take care of this. So side by side, most of the places now we are having the one-stop help center in the emergency or the casualty setting itself. So there is a separate unit which is dedicated, and there are all these persons. The question comes, because when we talk about the emergency, the boss is the emergency medicine physician, right? But then this aspect is there, he doesn't want to own it. So that again challenge. So we advocated that yes, there should be, nodal person should be from a forensic medicine faculty. Forensic medicine person should be the nodal person who can organize all those, you can say, call depending upon case to case, who can organize whether there is a requirement of gynecologist, the pediatrician, the skin specialist, or whatever specialty is involved. So he is the better person, especially when we're talking about the documentation of injuries and all, and we, by virtue of our work, we have got a high degree of suspicion when we see these type of cases. So, and of course, forensic person is a better person to have the collection and preservation of biological evidences. We have seen the emergency medicine and all those, they are concerned with their treatment part, they are not at all concerned with this medico-legal part. So we can supplement, and we can, in fact, if we are the nodal officer, the whole team, you can say whole system will work as per the, you can say, as per our advice. And simultaneously, we are better in liaisoning with the police and other agencies, again, because they don't want to do that, and they save the precious time of the clinicians also, when later on it comes to the question to the court proceedings. So forensic medicine, we are almost every day we are sitting in the court, so we are comfortable with that. So we advocated and we are trying to develop all this system all over the country. So more sincere approach is the need of by all stakeholders everywhere, the doctor, police, the investigators, everyone needs to be more aware. So we need to spread awareness about this, the problem of child abuse, to the general masses, because still they are not aware of these issues at the very grassroots or at the remote level. So our government is taking all those awareness programs and all those to advocate about this menace and how to do reporting, how to do, and then we are also developing the child welfare units, the child welfare units, protection homes also, where they can be attacked. And recently the judicial activism is also very much necessary, because if they don't understand, again there are so much problems, and we are facing that. So different type of settings are there. So here it was a victim was below 18 years of age. So she married with the accused, but he said no, this is not a POCSO crime, because herself with the consent and all, they are going. So different scenarios. A 12-year-old male child was held for rape under POCSO. As the 17-year-old girl, she delivered a baby, because it is applied for all. So accused was male, so even though he was a 12-year-old child, literally, but then he was held, and then again all these. So many judgments and all, different courts have got different understanding. The Supreme Court has made certain advisories on all these intricacies further. And this is the news only day before yesterday, that we are talking about whether a consensual sex between a girl of say 16, 17 years and a boy of 16, 17, 18 years, consensual sex, whether it will amount to the POCSO Act it will be covered under that or not. So we tried to discuss about all those issues. If they have got the proper understanding and there is no offense involved, it is the mutual consent, and the perpetrator himself is less than 18 years, so it should be viewed in a different manner. But then the government, the center, they told the Supreme Court that for all practical purpose, the age is uniform, and we are not going into the details of that. So it has to be uniform for 18 years. So again, it's a bit complicated when we actually see these type of cases. With this, I will take this opportunity to invite you for the in Palms conference, which is being held in India this time on 9th, 10th, and 11th of November. And here this one workshop we have specifically covered about, they try to cover about the child abuse with the collaboration of British Council, just to spread awareness to the general masses, where we are trying to have all school children, the principals of all schools to be the part of that. So it's a little bit different than that. So I invite you to all of you for this conference at Kolkata. Thank you for your patient listening. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kumar, for sharing your expertise and experience with us today. Now let me introduce our next speaker, our own Professor Anuruddhi, Chair of the Symposium. Anuruddhi Samantika Edirisinghe is the cadre, Chair and Senior Professor of the Forensic Medicine in the Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka. She graduated from the North Colombo Medical College in 1995 and commenced her career in forensic medicine in the year 2000. She completed her specialist training in University of Edinburgh after obtaining DLM MD for Med 2003 by University of Colombo, Sri Lanka. During her overseas training, she has obtained DMJ London 2005. Later, she obtained MFFLM UK in 2012 and became a fellow in Faculty of Forensic and Legal Medicine of Royal College of Physicians, London 2020. She is a trainer and examiner forensic medicine in Sri Lanka from 2006. Further, she has contributed to many national guidelines related to her discipline, as well as national guidelines on management of child abuse. She has held many posts in professional organizations include CFPSL, Medical Legal Society, and INPALMS. She is the first female to hold a forensic cadre chair post in a national university in Sri Lanka. She has a journal publication, over 50, 35 index, 1 book, 5 book chapters, and over 300 presentations in local and international scientific conferences, including plenaries, keynotes, and orations. Her research interests include child abuse, sexual and gender-based violence, homicides, vulnerable road users, drunken drivers, unnatural female deaths, etc. She has conducted national research on unnatural female deaths in Sri Lanka with a multidisciplinary team, which led to a book titled Fatalities 2021 in collaboration with UNFPA. Further, she authored 3 book chapters on 3rd edition of Encyclopedia of Legal and Forensic Medicine, published by Elsevier in 2024. She is the chairperson of the Women Health Committee of Sri Lanka Medical Association and a member in the National Police Academy of Sri Lanka. She is frequently called to many ministries, health, justice, women and child affairs, and the Sri Lanka Parliament to give expert opinion in matters related to gender at the policy level. She has been a resource person in consultative and training workshops of doctors, lawyers, police, probationary officers, magistrates, and judges, both locally and internationally. In 2023, November, she has been appointed as the president of International Association of Clinical Forensic Medicine. I cordially invite Professor Edirisinghe to deliver her presentation.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. We have exceeded the time because we started a little bit late, not 8:39. But I try as much as possible to speed up and save time. So my task today is in this symposium is to talk about challenges and successes, lessons from Sri Lanka. Right. First of all, Ayubowan and greetings from the Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya. And when it comes to this topic, since time immemorial, Sri Lanka has had an advanced value system, but child abuse has not been discussed. From mid-80s, corporal punishment in children has been recognized as a crime in Sri Lanka, but early 90s and the other forms of child abuse, especially child sexual abuse, has also been recognized. In 1991, Sri Lanka ratified UN Convention on Rights of the Child, and with that, the systematic multidisciplinary management came into highlight in 19 90s. With the establishment of the National Child Protection Authority in 1998, child protection became a buzzword. And as we said earlier, Professor Harindra De Silva, Professor of Pediatrics in University of Kelaniya, was the first chairman, and it was from the health sector the child protection part was so much became the buzzword. And one of the achievements, if I say over the years, is in the elimination of child labor. As you can see, from 1999, and the statistics in 2016 is very commendable. When it comes to child abuse management, it has to be a child-centered, multidisciplinary management where law enforcement, health, justice, and social services come together. And if you look at the initiations from the health sector in 2000s, yet 25 years later, although we started it, whether we are giving equal service throughout the country is questionable. Out of this journey, I think one of the best things that happened over the years are the two Sri Lankan guidelines. One titled National Guideline on Examination, Reporting and Management of Sexually Abused Survivor for Medical Legal Purpose, which was done by our college, College of Forensic Pathologists, together with the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Justice, and the UNFPA. And the other one is from the College of Pediatricians, with, again, from all the ministries, including health, justice, and the education, together with the Medical Legal Society and our college, the National Guideline for Management of Child Abuse and Neglect, which was both published in 2014. As you can see, the network is so complex, and if you don't have interconnections, we don't get a good service. The guidelines were produced by very enthusiastic professional bodies. Training was given, and the issue was in guidelines is there is no legal binding. So the practice varies based on attitudes as well as based on the other necessary equipments and so forth. So therefore, again, I have to say services are not equal, and many specialists over the years, the best thing happened was whenever they are posted to the peripheral centers, they started developing, which earlier they didn't had any essentials. So over the years, if I can say, the improving areas are forensic evidence collection as well as injury examination reporting part. And if I don't say about the USAID project in 2012 and 2014, where we got the safe kits, I would be very ungrateful. Our college actually campaigned for this, and we got now the availability of drug screening kits are available in the local hospital where a specialist is available is one of the another achievement. When health sector was developing, the other sectors development was again lagging behind, but I think we defined the standards for the other sectors, especially the law enforcement, then the health and the social services, and finally the judiciary, with the 2018 WHO funded these documents, which defines, I think, what we should be doing. Since I'm from the forensic medicine, and I love taking photographs, wherever I go, I take photographs. So over the years, if you look at the improvements, different parts of the country, the examining places have improved. That is for a person where none of these were available in peripheral hospital. Seeing this are a happy thing for any clinician. When it comes to improvements in the other sectors, especially police, is also commendable. The child-friendly women and children's desk, where they have a separate unit with trained police officers working day and night, women police officers, and where re-traumatization is avoided with the best interest of the child. And this is from Ragama police station, which we have. And these days I'm traveling all over the country for national research on STB. I personally go to the police station to collect data. These are some recent photographs from the peripheral police stations, and these child-friendly services, seeing at least the areas getting, even with a small area, making them child-friendly is one of the commendable improvements. And if I'm to say a little bit about the psychosocial management, many of the things are done by the non-governmental organizations, and they are doing wonderful services. But whether it is available throughout the country is a question. Now, if we look at the teenage mothers, if they are not taken by their families, then they have to be institutionalized. In Western Province, we have only two, which is again private organization from Sarvodaya Mahasavana and the Joy Home. So services not being available throughout the country is a problem to us. Over the years, if we look at the remarkable achievements, is from guidelines now have become standard operational procedure. It took almost 8 years to come to this step. In 2023, the Ministry of Health issued this national this circular where we are to do the examination and reporting part. In the meantime, I think one of the strongest development we had, Aisha, is the Assistance and Protection of Victim of Witness Crimes and Witnesses Act, which was initially published in 2015, with much stronger things in 2023, where like India, where even it says the women police officers, as well as wherever, if they request a female doctor to examine, is available in that act. And so right of the victim in this act, for a fair treatment, fair management, psychosocial management is assured there. And if you don't give it, then you can report it to the Victim Witness Protection Authority, where they would take the necessary action and redressal pathway is assured. I think if I don't mention this part, where a dream come true is the way forward. And this is our Ragama Lama Pisa Safe Home, which was established in 2015. Prof. Aswini is here. This dream, when I was a MD trainee, my own teacher, Ananda Samarasekara, and of course Professor Harendra was talking about it to establish in Kandana. But it never happened. After I also became a consultant, I was with Prof. Aswini, I went to almost all the meetings to the ministries to get this. Finally, a hospital-based safe home where the victim-centered multidisciplinary care starts is happening. And our center has a video evidence record room, and to get it going, it almost took 7 years to establish. 2014, 15 we opened it, but to get it going with correct people coming, it took almost 8 years. So from 2022, the activity started, and so far 390 cases have been, other than the National Child Protection Authority Video Evidence Recording Unit. In Ragama, of course, we do according to the standard operational procedure, the clinical case conference. So most of these cases, the reported cases, are coming through the police, and it is the JMOs who see. If I see a case in the morning, in evening, by 2 o'clock, we have the multidisciplinary, that's the health sector people will come, the pediatrician, psychiatrist, and the Lama PS doctors, and then we decide the management plan. And after the initial investigations, the child is transferred to the Lama PS ward, and institutional case conference as well as long-term psychosocial management happens from here. So I'm very happy to state the hospital-based second Lama PSA will be open for action in Karapite in 2 months' time. And this is again the Ministry of Health land in the hospital land with the help from Roshan Mahanama's Trust and the Sri Lanka Army. So these are planned to have the third one in Jaffna and so forth, at least one such place for one province. If you ask me, this service is island-wide, I have to say no. There have been several attempts to do this type of activity, but initiations have been done, but sustainability has been poor. So there are failures. People start, but unless everything happens together, it won't. But one of the key areas I think we are better or doing good is in teaching and training and continuous professional developments. We have incorporated guidelines to both undergraduate and postgraduate curriculums in medicine. I cannot say anything about the judiciary, but forensic medicine and for instance, the psychiatrists, they have now a subspecialty, child and adolescent psychiatry, and then MD pediatric curriculum has incorporated the child protection module, and community pediatrics has come as a subspecialty who is going to look after these children for long term. For instance, the doctor who announced today, he is a senior registrar in the training of as a community pediatrician. So other disciplinary training, especially police and probation. These days, the University of Kelaniya, the Center for Gender Studies, we are helping to develop curriculums under the USAID projects. Again, I think it's a jury project. The police training curricula, with the National Police Academy, and probation officers also, I know, with the assistant from the UNICEF, going to have a very big project where the training are going to be further and up to the betterment. Where we are having a problem is this area. I'm not going to read the numbers, Aisha. These are pending cases. This is from the MOJ report. And I did a small research way back in 2011 regarding time taken a medical legal doctor to give evidence in the High Court. So analyzing 2000 to 2009 reports. It takes about 5 years. So if we give another 1.5 years, totally to conclude 6.5 years. Justice Kodagoda in 2017 did a snapshot survey, and he comes up with a number. He quotes 14 and a half years to conclude all criminal cases. Whereas recently, Professor Jeeva Nirala published a paper saying in 2020, it takes 6 months to 10 years to serve indictments and 6 to 14 years to serve judgments in the High Court. So, biggest challenge is in law delays, where we can quote, justice delayed, justice denied. So the challenges are many. Psychosocial management of children and social care is lagging, which we are trying to address. Then specialized unit to investigate into violence against children and women from Sri Lanka Police. This recommendation has come up again and again because we train people. Then in another 2 years, if they are transferred to another unit, then sustainability is again a problem. Then social care service, including probation officers, lack the expected standard. Presently, a quality service of child abuse management is based on how enthusiastic the management team is. So, challenge is to develop a positive attitude towards multidisciplinary management. So, victim or survivor-centered approach is a must. Any system cannot be better without quality assurance. We haven't touched in this area, Aisha. So, I conclude my presentation with a quotation from a philosopher from China. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with single step. We have done few steps. There are more to go. So with this, I conclude. Thank you.
I wish to thank all the eminent presenters who presented about the challenges and the successes in their respective countries. By listening to it, I felt, and I asked my question from myself, are we reinventing the wheel? I entered the profession in 1990, to the legal profession. From that time onwards, I have been hearing either the same or similar issues. Every day we talk, we propose, and we depart. When do we implement it? I was very pleased to observe the good practices observed in different countries. And I also had a heavy heart when some of you referred to the good practices which we too have in our country, but what we do not practice. Professor Edrisinghe, you happen to mention that justice delayed is justice denied. Yes, it is. But what are the reasons, or what could be the reasons for the delay? I think for the distinguished audience, I better, as the Secretary to the Ministry of Justice, put on record few of the reasons that has contributed to it. The main issue is the human resource issue. You and I have gone through a very tough time. We have had the economic pandemic. where we were subjected to, and the economy in the country, the downfall. Due to these reasons, there was moratorium on recruitment. The Ministry of Justice has 24 agencies under that. We are running without 6,054 officers who is in the approved cadre, who should be in the approved cadre. Those are the vacancies. When you say that investigations are not being done, there is a dearth of officers in the police force who are investigating. When you say that the charges have not gone out, which has been referred to the Attorney General's Department, there is a dearth of officers in the Attorney General's Department. And the numbers are coming down. It's not increasing. In the Government Analyst Department, there is a dearth of officers. In the legal draftsman, it's no better. So all these things would contribute to the delay in justice, which the Ministry of Justice has understood very well. I'm pleased to tell you that we have taken action by informing the authorities for the immediate recruitment of the officers to the relevant agencies, departments, and institutions. So, Anuruddhi, I'm hopeful, there is a ray of hope that in time to come, we should be able to address this issue. So, we will fall in line with the good practices that are practiced in other countries. And our children will get justice, and you professionals will be happy. So this symposium that has explored the multifaceted approaches to child abuse management has spoken of the experience, the diverse experience in 5 different countries. Those are the United Kingdom, Australia, Thailand, India, and Sri Lanka. Each of the speakers from these countries have offered unique insights into both the challenges and successes of the management of children. By examining these countries' experience, this session has aimed to identify the best practices, common pitfalls, and opportunities for cross-border learning. Understanding these varied approaches is essential for developing more effective, culturally sensitive, and sustainable child protection system. So it is going to be teamwork. And I would like to end our today's session with a quote from late Indian Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. She has said, I quote, that we must protect families, we must protect children who have inalienable rights and should be loved, should be taken care of physically and mentally, and should not be brought into the world only to suffer. Close quote. So we will have as I said, today's child will be tomorrow's adult. So we will have a ray of hope with all these progression in place, and I'm certain that our children will get their justice, what they deserve by tomorrow. Thank you.
And that marks an end to an insightful session. And our sincere thanks goes to our esteemed moderators and all the symposium speakers, Dr. John Gall, Dr. Anirudh Varawat, Professor Adarsh Kumar, and Senior Professor Anuruddhi Edirisinghe, for sharing their invaluable experience from around the world. So, in order to present the tokens of appreciations for our distinguished speakers, I would like to invite Ms. Tiona Aslanishvilai, the Chief of Child Protection, UNICEF, on stage. And she will be presenting the tokens of appreciations for our speakers, Dr. John Gall, Dr. Anirudh Varawat, and then for Professor Adarsh Kumar, and then Senior Professor Anuruddhi Edirisinghe. Thank you very much, Ms. Tiona. Thank you. And then for our two moderators, I would like to invite Professor Hemamal Jayawardena on stage to present the tokens of appreciations for our distinguished moderators for this symposium. Ms. Ayesha Jinesena, the President's Counsel and the Secretary to the Minister of Justice. Ms. Preeti Inoka Ranasinghe, Chairman, National Child Protection Authority. Thank you, everyone. And this marks the end of the morning session, the symposium. And I would like to invite, and you can, yeah, your vote of thanks. To deliver the vote of thanks, I cordially invite Dr. Amila Jivandara, the Admin Secretary of the conference.
Good morning to all of you. It is a great honor and privilege to stand before you this morning to deliver the vote of thanks at the inauguration of the International Conference on Child Protection, ICCP 2025, organized by the Center for Gender Studies of the University of Kelaniya in collaboration with the National Child Protection Authority, NCPA, and generously supported by the European Union through UNICEF Sri Lanka. Let me express my deepest gratitude to our guest of honor, Ms. Ayesha Jinasena, Secretary to the Ministry of Justice, for joining us today. Your presence and inspiring word have brought strength and national significance to this important dialogue on child protection. Though the Madam has to leave early, we extend our sincere appreciation to our Vice Chancellor, Madam Senior Professor Nilantha Silva, for her continued encouragement and support. And then our heartfelt thanks goes to Ms. Preeti Inokar Ranasinghe, Chairman of the National Child Protection Authority, and her team from NCPA for their unwavering commitment to safeguarding the rights of children in Sri Lanka. We are especially grateful to Ms. Tiona, Chief of Child Protection at UNICEF, and the UNICEF team for their unwavering support from the beginning to organize this conference. Also, special appreciation for the generous financial support given by the European Union. And then special thanks goes to our conference chair, Senior Professor Anuruddhi Ejirisinghe, for the vision, leadership, and hard work that has made the conference a reality. To all our distinguished invitees, the deans of the faculties of the University of Kelaniya, administrative staff, respected faculty members, and university administrators, thank you for your presence and the support. I must also acknowledge the contributions of the esteemed panelists who shared insights from Australia, UK, Thailand, and India during the symposium. Your experience will no doubt enrich our understanding and inspire practical collaborative action. Behind every successful event is a dedicated team. I extend sincere thanks to my wonderful organizing committee for outstanding teamwork through thick and thin. Also, heartfelt gratitude goes to media teams, technical and logistic teams, and the event management team, our student volunteers, and every individual who worked tirelessly, often behind the scenes, to make this day possible. Finally, warm thank you to all the presenters and participants, both local and international. Your commitment to protecting children and advocating for the justice is what drives the spirit of this conference. We are confident that the conversations that begin here today will ripple outward into policy action and change. So we hope that all of you will gain fruitful experience for your future activities related to child protection during the 2 days of the conference. Enjoy the panel discussions and the conference sessions. Thank you and have a pleasant 2 days with the conference. Let us move forward with purpose, united in our mission to create a safer world for every child. Thank you.
Funded by the European Union and supported by the UNICEF Sri Lanka, the ICCP 25 is organized by the Center for Gender Studies of the University of Kelaniya in partnership with the National Child Protection Authority. This conference is funded through the Jury project jointly implemented by UNICEF and UNDP with the Ministry of Justice. ICCP 25 will bring together national leadership, academics, and international actors to drive evidence-based solutions to the end violence against children. To conclude the first session of this prestigious event, please rise for the national anthem.
Sri Lanka Mata, Abba Sri Lanka, Namo 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 Mata, Sundara Sri Tarini Sura
Thank you. We will now take a short break for tea. The refreshments are served outside the building, that is in the second floor, the same building, and we invite you to network with your fellow delegates as well. Please be back in by 12:15. So now it's 5 minutes for 12. So we'll have a free paper. So back in free paper sessions by around 20 to 25 minutes.